Hi, Benji here, and I'm going to use data to challenge the claim that there isn't enough evidence to prove the influence of racial bias on the Traitors UK. Based on perception for UK Series 1 to 3 and Celebrity Traitors Series 1, around 31% of players were of the global majority, yet accounted for roughly 42% of early banishment, defined here as being one of the first 3 players voted out. Early banishments are a crucial metric in this discussion because it's when the group decides who is least trustworthy when they have little evidence to work with, and global majority contestants are overrepresented in the early banishment rounds relative to their presence in the game. This pattern of racial bias becomes more definitive when we look at repeated examples of how suspicion forms on the show. In Celebrity Traitors, Nico was banished first after being framed as deceptive and untrustworthy because of his prank-based YouTube content, when other contestants with acting and performance backgrounds weren't treated as inherently suspicious for the same reason. Tamika was also banished second after being labelled as untrustworthy, a claim led by Mark which rested largely on a feeling he wasn't able to explain when challenged. In Series 3, Kaz was isolated from the group without a clear rationale, and when he asked for reasons why, players refused to elaborate, with some even suggesting that his job as a doctor made him more likely to be a traitor without explaining why that is. In Series 2, Diane formed a strong suspicion of Anthony based on an interaction they had before roles were even assigned, and that initial read and her influence shaped how his behavior was interpreted by the entire group. Similarly, in the current series, Judy was deemed untrustworthy by Sam due to a perceived change in demeanor once the game began, a common response to pressure that was readily accepted as suspicious by the group. And despite Jazz playing a careful, evidence-based game in Series 2, he struggled to gain trust and credibility, and the traitors were fairly confident throughout that his claims would be trusted less. Taken together, these examples point to a consistent mechanism and appeals to exceptions, such as pointing to white players being banished or global majority players gaining trust and doing well, rely on isolated outcomes to deny broader evidence-based patterns. It's also important to say that race isn't the only bias at play in the game. Factors like class, age, gender, and neurodivergence all influence how players are read and treated. And such biases aren't necessarily produced by the game, but evidenced by it. Reality TV shows like The Traitors offer us a rare chance to witness the same dynamics that play out in society, such as in schools, workplaces, and healthcare, but with far higher stakes and far less visibility. And that opportunity shouldn't be wasted. If we can't acknowledge bias when it's observable and replayable, it becomes even harder to confront it elsewhere. Hope that helps. Bye.